So now we're joined in studio by two really, really special guests. First, Jade Leung, you're the advisor to the UK Prime Minister on AI, and also Ollie Ilott, you're the acting interim Director General for AI and Emerging Tech at the UK Department of Science and Innovation and Technology. So you guys have been great friends of ours for a long time. Thanks so much for joining us. Glad that you can be here.
Thanks for having us.
So first off, what are you guys up to in town? Like, how have your meetings gone? What's the visit about? And yeah, anything that you can share with the audience on how things are going.
Yeah, so I think two claims maybe to start with. The first claim is the UK government is a government that really gets AI, gets where this is going. So in January of last year, we published our AI Opportunities Action Plan. That was 50 actions, 50 things we have to do across government to make the UK one of the best places to adopt AI, to build AI, to create your AI startups. And second claim, there's a lot of overlap between the approach that we're taking in the UK government and the approach the US government is taking. I mean, not least, we have an action plan. Yeah. US government has an action plan that came out 6 months later. But whether that's things like the AI research resource, so building out publicly available compute for researchers to use, investing directly in startups, big push on skills and adoption. The reason we are out here this week talking to our counterparts in the administration, comparing notes, finding ways to work together. I mean, also talking about some of the challenges that we're facing mutually.
Yeah, Jade, anything else from you on what you're up to this week?
Not much to add. We've seen folks from across the White House. We've seen folks from commerce, across the national security community. It's been a really, really good trip in terms of getting to know a bunch of the people who are leading some of the programs, what we're actually doing in the UK. And as Ollie says, a huge amount of overlap, huge amount of areas of collaboration that we can move on to. So this will be the first trip of many.
Yeah. No, I think, you guys, again, we've known you for a long time. I think at the first time that we met was actually right before the Bletchley Summit. And so we had a chance to talk to you guys about what you guys are planning for the summit there. How do you see, where has the UK's priorities on AI build out evolved over the years, right? I know a lot of the effort on the summit process started with safety. And now I think with the recent summit in India, there's such a shift towards impact, right? So for the UK, how have things gone? And how do you see the evolving priorities for UK going forward?
So I would say inside the UK government, most often the conversation is about how can we also turn this dial up to 10? Like the wave that is coming through on AI, the underlying technological capabilities, the economic impact it's having, the impact it's going to have on society. The mindset we have most of all is that's another thing over there that we've got to do more on. And so I think what you saw when we published the Opportunities Action Plan just over a year ago was a big move to try and dial up on the opportunity side of things. Now, the work that we kicked off in Bletchley, that continues. So one of the big legacies from that was our AI Security Institute, world-leading research organization, digging into the national security risks that we need to understand as this technology develops. That continues absolutely. But there has been this big push as well to do more on the opportunity side of things. I think one of the conversations you can see playing out in the UK government at the moment is this question of sovereignty. So every government is having a conversation about what sovereignty means in the AI age. On Tuesday, our Chancellor of the Exchequer, so equivalent of your Treasury Secretary, gave a speech about how she thinks about growth in the country. AI was one of the three big pillars, one of the three levers we've really got to be pulling on for growth. And in talking about sovereignty in that speech, one of the things the Chancellor was saying is, this is not about keeping, foreign AI out so that you have British AI that fills the demand gap. We have to be adopting AI as much as we can. Right? That's how we get the productivity benefit. For us, sovereignty is about having some sovereign edge. It's about having net additional things happening in the UK. And so that is a theme to your question that has really developed over the last 6 to 9 months. Big thing coming up for us there is the launch of the Sovereign AI Unit inside the government. So this will have £500 million to invest directly in UK companies that we think are doing novel, interesting things here in the UK to try and have this kind of sovereign edge come through.
And to give you a bit of a sense of kind of priority areas within what Ollie said about us going really full throttle on adoption and usage, a few to highlight there. There's a really big focus for us on AI for science, recognizing how important it's going to be and how much it's really just going to change how we actually do R&D across so many different areas, medical research, materials discovery, life sciences, healthcare, everything. One big reason to go after it is also because the UK has incredibly rich assets and ingredients, whether that is our universities, data sets, UK Biobank, loads of things that we are world leading in. So actually creating that ecosystem to be an AI native one and actually moving forward on that, I think that's a huge thing for us. We published an AI science strategy, very aligned with what the US is doing under the Genesis mission. That's one area. A second big area is making sure that our national security community is totally cutting edge in terms of their usage and adoption of AI. That also bleeds over into the private sector play, which is how do we support our best defense tech startups, intelligence startups, folks who are building amazing products that sell into those communities? How do we make sure that that industrial base is super strong? And then the third one is the fundamental foundational stuff of infrastructure and how do we build much faster in the UK. We are a tiny island, so we don't have the same, degrees of land and kind of scope as the United States does. But for us, it's super important that we have enough infrastructure in the United Kingdom to do onshore stuff as we need to and to be able to kind of go full throttle on adoption. And same stuff as what you guys are up to here. It's about energy, it's about time to power, it's about time to planning permissions. And so we're cutting through a lot of that under the heading of what we call the AI Growth Zones program, which is we pick specific zones and regions in the country where it's just going to be a lot faster to build and a lot faster to get power. And then we're doing all the requisite work to make sure that it actually is counterfactually a lot faster in those areas.
Yeah. Ollie, how do you think about AI adoption within the government? Can you share any best practices that we could learn from here?
Yeah, I mean, we've got quite a few projects where we're looking at AI adoption. I think there's a real push inside government to show that this can make people's public services better. Like that is both because we need a more productive, more agile state, but it is also because, we want people to feel the benefit of AI because the transition, we want people to be adopting it, confident in using it. And if they can see it in their public services, that is one of the ways that you get that behavior change. So for example, we've had a project where we've been looking at trying to use AI in the planning system. So you're applying for planning applications. That is a lengthy process. There's quite a lot of paperwork involved, absolutely ripe for automation through AI, which is a project that is now live. That system is in place. I don't know if you also want to cover the stuff we're doing on education, which is great.
Yeah, I can say more about that. So in the education space, the thing that we're really interested in pushing is the development of either teacher-facing or student-facing tools that are being co-created by companies with schools and teachers. In the UK, we are really targeting that at disadvantaged students and making sure that they essentially have access to tools that are the equivalent of what you would have if you had a one-on-one tutor, and focusing in particular on kind of increasing their attainment through that. So we announced a couple of months ago that we are going to do a kind of big piece of work across the course of 2026, which essentially is about co-creating new AI tools between companies and what we call academies in the UK, which are kind of groups of schools, and that will develop a new set of tools that will be quite experimental. It'll be fairly, it'll be very heavily informed by what teachers and students actually want. And then that will eventually, over the course of 2026, 2027, be rolled out across a bunch of different schools across the UK.
And I think one of the choices the government made a few years ago, which now gives us an asset, was to establish an AI incubator inside government. So let's hire some ML researchers, let's hire some software engineers, and let's build products and show people around government what it could look like. And that is why when we come to things like this big swing on education, actually, a lot of the awareness of what's possible, like you have access to it in government, people can build you the prototype. That is really, really powerful when you try and think about how to drive change and adoption through the state.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's we're trying to do that on a smaller scale here at SCSP as well, where we have our we make our we make our young people like every week have a session on like what they're using AI and how they're using AI in the office. And I think again we talked about how we're building out an agentic AI system for our news ticker on screen as well. And so, I mean, Ollie and Jade, thanks so much for joining us. Incredible to see you guys. I know obviously in terms of like how the US and UK are progressing, I mean, there is a special relationship across the board. I think for us really here, it's like, how do we think about how technology is going to be that next pillar for anchoring the next generation of this special relationship, right? There's so much that we can do together. There's so much in terms of how our systems are integrated. And obviously in terms of the way that our government and our laws are set up, it's much more, we drew inspiration from how the UK system was set up. And so thanks again for joining us.